Good evening and welcome to the City of Port Hueneme's regular council meeting. Welcome again. We're going to call this meeting to order. The time is now 5:30. Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Perez,
Here.
Mayor McQueen LaShawn,
Here.
and let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez is currently absent.
Great. We'll now hear a closed session, public comments, or public comments relating to closed session, and they'll be limited to 3 minutes each. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have two public comments. First is Theo Provencio, followed by Leonard Castillo.
Okay, well, I'll make this short. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Theo Provencio. I'm a D5 operator with the City Water Department. Been here for 13 years. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the dedicated city employees who keep our community running every single day. I am standing before you because we are at a critical crossroads and the current proposal on the table simply does not align with the reality. The city is currently offering a 1% cost of living adjustment, COLA, per year for 2 years. While we understand the complexities of municipal budgeting, we must be honest about what a 1% per year offer means in the current economic climate. Inflation is significantly higher than 1%. Housing, groceries, utilities, healthcare have all surged. To offer a 1% adjustment in a high inflation environment isn't a wage freeze. It is, in practical terms, a pay cut. Every day, the city staff show up to deliver the high-quality services our residents expect and deserve. But right now, those same employees are struggling to keep up with the basic cost of living of surviving in the very city they serve. When wages fail to keep pace with the real world, we risk losing our experienced, dedicated personnel to neighboring cities or the private sector. High turnover, unfilled positions ultimately cost the city more in recruiting, training, and lost productivity than a fair wage adjustment ever would. We love the city and we want to continue serving it, but we need a partner in the city council that recognizes our value and economic pressures we face. A 1% COLA is not a realistic offer. We urgently call on the city to return to the table with a meaningful, realistic offer that reflects the true cost of living and shows real investment in the workforce that keeps the city moving forward. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, council, council members, mayor. My name is Leonard Castillo. I'm the chief negotiator with SCIU Local 721. I'm before you and speaking on behalf of my members, and just wanted to convey the reality that our members that serve this community and are your employees are facing the reality that in terms of their salaries, in terms of their benefits, that the cost of living in this climate is something that needs to be addressed. And I do want to acknowledge that the city is moving in the right direction in our negotiations. However, it's at this point, as it stands, just not enough for my members. So again, acknowledging that you're moving in the right direction and that there is movement, I do want to convey that we acknowledge that, and ultimately we want you to give the additional authority that is needed to your bargaining team to come to a deal so we could go ahead and come to an agreement before this contract expires. With that being said, we'd also like to, we're reaching out to you to see if you have the availability to open up special session on the 29th. A special session on the 29th would be ideal, considering that we do have bargaining prior. We have a few sessions before that date, and with that date, if we can come to an agreement and an agreement that our bargaining team can endorse, we'd like to have that on the calendar so that we could vote on the contract and then get it to you to be fully authorized. Ultimately, again, we're just here to speak to the matter of the fact that these city workers, they put in this time to serve the community. They are a part of the community. Some of them are your constituents, and we just want you to consider these asks at this point in time. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And that concludes public comment.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to our next item, closed session item. Mr. City Attorney, please read the closed session item into the record.
Thank you. We'll be entering closed session with respect to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators with the agency's representatives, including Frank Lee, James Vega, Charles Peretz, and we'll be discussing the agreement with SEIU, Service Employees International Union, Local 721.
Great, thank you. Do any members of the council have a conflict of interest in this matter?
I don't have a conflict of interest, but do we want to share ex parte communications? Is that,
Do
to
you
do that?
have one?
There's no legal obligation
Okay.
to.
Then no.
Okay, great. So now we're going to recess into closed session. The time is now 5:37. shoot, we're already past. I didn't realize we were that late. Did you wanna read, anyone would like to read the Juneteenth? I'll do it. I'm doing the inspiration, so.
Oh, that's right.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Council meeting Monday, June 15th, 2026. We are going to get started, calling this meeting to order at 6:33. And so we'll have Councilmember Gama lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody could
Please stand.
please stand, remove your hats. Right hand over heart. Hold on just a second. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Perez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Here.
and Mayor McQueen Lejeune.
Here. Okay, great. So I have the opportunity to do the inspiration tonight. And it comes by way of the event that I went to this weekend where it was commented that we don't believe people really know who we are and what we do. So I'm just going to share a little bit about the support and services we have going on that support our residents, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about that one organization. So as we begin tonight's meeting, I would like to take a moment to reflect on one of the greatest strengths of our city. Not our buildings, not our streets, not even our beautiful coastline, but the people and the organizations that dedicate themselves to serving others. A community is measured not by what it achieves, but how it cares for its residents. In Port Hueneme and throughout Ventura County, we are blessed with the extraordinary network of nonprofit and service organizations that work tirelessly to meet the needs of every generation and of every stage in life. For our children and youth, organizations such as the Boys and Girls Club of the Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme provide safe places, mentorship, academic support, and opportunities for personal growth. Their work helps young people build confidence, character, and hope for the future. For our students, organizations such as the Oxnard College Foundation and educational mentoring programs throughout the county help remove barriers to higher education through scholarship, resources, and encouragement, empowering the next generation of leaders. For our seniors, organizations such as Ventura County Area Agency on Aging provide vital services that promote independence, wellness, nutrition, and social connection, ensuring that our elders remain valued and engaged members of our community. For the veterans and military families, organizations include Gold Coast Veterans Foundation, who offer support, resources, and advocacy for those who have sacrificed in service to our nation. Their efforts remind us that honoring our veterans require more than words. It requires actions. For families facing hardship, organizations as Food Share Ventura County work every day to combat food insecurity, and provide nourishment and dignity to those in need. And through service clubs, such as the Lions Club International, the Salvation Army, and the Divine Nine fraternities and sororities, like the one that I'm a member of, that was founded as early as 1906. We have faith-based organizations, community volunteers, and countless local nonprofits. Acts of kindness and generosity are transformed into meaningful change for our residents. That said, the reason for this reflection on this topic tonight is that I've had the opportunity to participate in a couple of events hosted by Soroptimist International of Channel Islands, and the statement that people don't really know who and why they exist. So I want to just share a bit about them. Soroptimist International of Channel Islands chapter serves both Oxnard and Port Hueneme, is a beacon of hope for girls and women. They provide scholarships through their Live Your Dream Award, offering financial support to women who are primary breadwinners. They also create care kits, run anti-trafficking initiatives, and mentor girls through the Dream It, Be It program. These efforts ensure that women and girls of Port Hueneme not only dream big, but have the support to achieve those dreams. Now I'm gonna go off script, because as I read each of these, I saw a connection from the city of Port Hueneme. We have people that are on most of these committees that are doing the work of these organizations. And even for the ones that we don't have someone specifically on, I have always seen Port Hueneme residents participating in those events. I mentioned the Boys and Girls Club. I know our council member Perez, I don't know if she's still on the board, but she was on the board to that. I talked about Lions Club, Salvation Army. We have people that give to our community all the time. We have our council member, Gama, who leads an effort to keep our beaches clean. We have council member Lopez, who is our liaison to the Veterans Ad Hoc Committee. We have our Mayor Pro Tem that is in several organizations that support our residents here in the city of Port Hueneme. And I too do my very best to participate in supporting our events. I did want to mention we have with the Ventura County Area Agency of Aging, we have a liaison, Luis Mendez. We have for our food share, we know that we have community members that give away food to residents and those outside of our cities all the time. So the city of Port Hueneme is showing up, as residents are showing up and are really doing great things for the organization. I see Mr. Vega here with the port. We know that they're always out there giving to the community. So it's wonderful to work in a city and to belong in a city that cares about its members and communities abroad. So thank you to everyone who continues to do the work for the residents and the community members here in Port Hueneme and in Ventura County. So while each group may serve a different population, together they are the backbone of a thriving Port Hueneme. Their work reminds us that when we care for our children, support our students, honor our seniors, and uplift families in need, we create a city where everyone has the chance to thrive. So thank you to everyone who gives their services and support to our residents and to communities that we touch. So as elected leaders, we recognize that government cannot do all the work alone. It takes partnership. It takes volunteers. It takes nonprofit leaders, donors, advocates, and everyday residents who choose service over self-interest and community over division. So tonight, let us express our gratitude to all those organizations and individuals whose work often takes place quietly behind the scenes, but whose impact is felt throughout our city every day. May their examples inspire us to continue building a Port Hueneme that is compassionate, inclusive, and united in service to one another. Thank you. Okay. All right, So we are going to move to our city attorney for the closed session report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no reportable action from closed session tonight.
Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments not related to the agenda items?
Yes, we have 2 general public comments, one from Rich Rollins, followed by Johnny Garcia Vasquez.
Council. I really was quite impressed by this opening statement that you made as far as like how our community gets involved in a variety of different things to make our community and our citizens a better place. I'm going to talk to you in a short time on 3 different items. The first of which, I want to thank the city staff. I know they've had some challenging employee staffing schedule problems, but they saw fit to reorganize their staff so that the senior exercise program, which has been going on for a number of years, could maintain and keep a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think you made a lot of seniors very, very happy, and I want to thank Mr. Vega and the staff for doing that. The second thing I want to pass out to you, a while back you approved the Nate's Place pickleball tournament, and I want to give you a little bit of update. That's going to be happening this Saturday, and we have well over 100 participants. So they're going to be raising a lot of money for Nate's Place, and I want to give you a little flyer real quickly. That's why I play tennis, so I can run back and forth. Anyway, it's been a really big success. Reach and Nate's Place have worked together to really do a nice event this Saturday, which will, I think, highlight the city of Port Hueneme. The final thing, we had just gotten word, as you know, we're going to be doing the Veteran Banner Program, and we have now received all the banners, and we hope within the next week or so to have work with Public Works to get those up. We are also hoping to do some form of an unveiling ceremony and perhaps do a little walk, and we hope you will all be involved in that. And we have, I think we have between 13 and 15 banners. Am I correct?
16.
16 now, 16 banners, which I think is an excellent step, our first time doing that. So we hope that you will be involved in that. We will be giving you word when we actually do the different ceremonies and unveiling. And that's about it.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I would like to wish you a happy Pride Month. Additionally, thank you for the Pride Month proclamation that your city presented at the last council meeting. However, that is not enough. In Port Hueneme, there is an ongoing climate of homophobia within your city for the LGBTQIA+ community. Council should consider the passage of city ordinance, measures, or directives that protect and serve such constituents from ongoing hate incidents, hate speech, harassment, or the direction for the establishment of a police commission that holds your police department accountable to respond to residents who are subject to hate incidents, hate speech, harassment, and threats of physical bodily harm. Because the response from your police department of, "We do not have the resources to dispatch anyone," is very disgraceful and unethical, as the lack of dispatch response by your police department to such hate incidents and threats of physical bodily harm could rapidly turn into hate crimes within your city. For example, such as the former hateful hate crime murder of Larry King at E.O. Green Middle School, which is nearby here in South Oxnard. Additionally, council should consider directives and requirements for council city staff, and your police department to become knowledgeable and educated on the California Ralph Act so that the civil rights of your constituents are upheld here in California under the current law. Negligence and lack of leadership action to protect and serve those in such protected statuses by council and your police department will just lead this city to become the hateful city by the sea instead of the friendly city by the sea. Or maybe this city is already the hateful city by the sea. Thank you. I wish you all a happy Pride Month and wish all the homophobes and bigots here in your city, particularly Gardner Management Limited staff and those residing at Park Madero Apartments and everywhere, an unapologetically super uncomfortable month because love, not hate, always wins. Thank you. I yield the remaining of my time.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Great, thank you. With that, I'll move to the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great. Do any members of the council have any conflicts of interest to disclose regarding the agenda items? No? Great, thank you. We're going to move to presentation, our first presentation, and that's the Juneteenth proclamation. And I want to welcome Mr. Bruce Stewart, Ms. Toby Gibson, and Mr. Buddy Gibson up to the podium. We're going to take a picture when you're done, so come on out. This is for the Juneteenth Celebration Committee of Ventura County to the podium, and our Mayor Pro Tem is going to read your proclamation.
Proclamation Juneteenth and the 35th Annual Juneteenth Freedom Day Celebration. Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation declaring enslaved people in Confederate-held territories to be free. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, and announced that all enslaved people were free, marking a defining moment in the nation's journey toward liberty and equality. And whereas this historic event gave rise to Juneteenth, observed annually on June 19th, which commemorates freedom and honors the resilience, achievements, and contributions of African Americans, and whereas June 19th, 2026, marks the 161st anniversary of Juneteenth. Juneteenth was first recognized as a state holiday by Texas in 1980 and is now celebrated throughout the nation with a mission of promoting knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of African American history and culture. And whereas the first Juneteenth celebration in Ventura County was held on June 17, 1989, and for more than 3 decades, community organizations, volunteers, and residents have continued this tradition. And whereas the 35th Annual Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration will be held on June 20th, 2026 at Plaza Park in Oxnard, featuring cultural and historical exhibits, live entertainment, local artists, community resources, and family-friendly activities. And whereas the City of Port Hueneme wishes to recognize the significance of Juneteenth and commends the Juneteenth Committee of Ventura County, California, and its community partners for preserving and sharing this important history. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme does hereby recognize Juneteenth as a commemoration of freedom, perseverance, and the ongoing pursuit of equality, celebrates the 35th Annual Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration to be held on June 20th, 2026, and encourages all residents to learn about the history and significance of Juneteenth and participate in the celebration in the spirit of freedom, unity, respect, and hope. Proclaimed this 15th day of June, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Now we're going to turn it over to Mr. Stewart, I believe, and you can bring whoever you'd like. He's the Juneteenth Celebration Committee of Ventura County President. So over to you, Bruce.
Yes. Thank you very much for that proclamation, and thank you very much for the years of support that you've shown the Juneteenth Committee of Ventura County. We really look forward to this year. It's our 35th annual, and we're really excited about it. One thing you forgot to mention was we're going to have lots of good food when you come out there. So please come on out. And we're going to have 3 live bands. We're going to have the Goleta Sound. We're going to have the Sunday Praise Team. And we're going to have what's the name of the group that played for you, buddy? The group, the band that played at your party?
I can't remember their names because they changed it.
Oh, okay, but it's a soul group, yeah.
Del Franklin,
And
Seville.
Seville, that's the name of the group, yeah. Okay, and so we're really looking forward. We're going to have lots of demonstrations. We're going to have an African drum group. This year, the national anthem of the African American national anthem, which is usually sung by one person. She's going to have a full choir. The Bethel AME choir is going to be backing her up. That's going to be a stirring thing to see. Also, on a sad note, I know that you remember that the Buffalo Soldiers join us every year with an encampment and a big exhibit. Unfortunately, on Memorial Day of this year, the leader of the troop passed away. So they will not be there this year. But Buddy Gibson is preparing a special tribute to him where they usually are. So please come out and see that. And let's see, are there any questions you might have of me about Juneteenth? I think you summed it up quite well in your proclamation.
Well, I know I'll be there, but for the rest of the audience and council and people and staff, do you want to tell us where it's being held and the time?
Okay, yes, it's going to be held at the Oxnard Plaza Park. That's 5th and C, B, C, right there, the big park. It's going to start at 10 o'clock, and this year we're going to extend an hour. It's going to last until 6 p.m. because we're going to have a lot of things there to show you. There are going to be over 60 booths. They're going to be selling crafts. They're going to be giving information. The Red Cross will be there taking blood donations. So it's going to be a fun time. Right. We have face painting. We have a train ride. We have a play soccer pin. So there's lots of things to do.
It's a lot more than I remember from last year.
Yeah.
Great. I think we have one more comment.
How many food vendors are going to be there? Because I'm interested in the food.
Yes. We're going to have 5 food vendors. We're going to have soul food. We're going to have hot dogs. We're going to have ice cream, lemonade, barbecue. You name it, we're going to have it. Catfish.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Great,
See you
thank
Saturday.
you. We're going to come down and take a photo.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give them to everyone. Oh, come to the front.
One, two, three.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to move to our next presentation, and that's the Wainimi Beach Festival Community Invitation. So come on up, Mr. Amanalago, and provide your presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm going to update everybody for this year's Wainimi Beach Festival for July 11th and 12th. So the festival this year, it should say 2026, but will be held on Saturday, July 11th and Sunday, July 12th, 2026 from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We will be opening an hour earlier this year for the festival on both days. Part of the reason is because of the Copacabana Beach Soccer Tournament on Saturday. We noticed last year that a lot of families were waiting around to get in to get food from the festival since they were out there since 7 in the morning. So we decided to change that so that way once we're done playing, they could get in and get food for themselves and the families and the athletes before they got to go back for their next game. Again, for the community, it's a completely free event, and there is free parking for everyone throughout the 2 days. Besides our normal general parking in our parking lots, the Port of Hueneme and Wilderness will also be providing their port lot as well for overflow parking for everyone with the shuttle service to the entrance of the festival. Quick festival layout: Ocean View Drive will be used as the main entrance walkway and feature a first aid tent, informational booths, and food and general retail stalls. Parking lot B will be used to host our live entertainment main stage area with our food court and alcohol servicing area with all the seatings and chairs with the umbrellas. East Ocean View Drive and Parking Lot C will feature our carnival area by Castle Entertainment, their food vendor, and additional arts or crafts, and an additional alcohol serving area. On Saturday, the 11th, again, Hueneme Beach, we'll have the Copacabana Soccer Tournament. And then Surfside Drive will remain unchanged and open to the public, so there will be no traffic impact for the flow for the pedestrians. Here you'll see the festival site plan. So again, it'll show Lot B, you'll have the main stage, the food court area with the chairs. All the way down Ocean View Drive will be all of our informational booths, our sponsor booths, arts and crafts. Going down to Lot C where the carnival area will be at. Then for entertainment for this year, so on Saturday, we will start off the morning with Maury and the Heavy Hitters. We will then go with Alice Bryan. He's a local country singer. And then we will transition to Fermin Fusion Salsa Merengue band for the evening. And we will finish out with the Outlaw Mariachis. They are a cross between English rock and Spanish mariachi. So it's a combination. It's a unique group that we'll be playing at the festival. And then throughout both days, we'll be having DJ Myron playing music throughout the main acts. On Sunday, we actually will be beginning Sunday morning with In Stone in the morning, then transitioning to Led Zeppelin. We will then have Corazón de Maná, then Banda La Venenosa, and Los Halcones de Bajio throughout the evening and the DJ. For Saturday, the beach soccer tournament, as it's already approved through a separate plan, there will be the fields 1 through 9 and 10. For the event, they'll have their parking, and we're in coordination with their event coordinators for the festival. And then the youth poster contest. So you'll see all the posters we have up today. On the 11th, we will be announcing the winners for those poster contests. So the committee's going to get together so we can notify the winners, and then we'll have them there hopefully the day of the event so we can present them their check sponsored by Lujan Transportation and their framed poster. For the community, the website is active and the QR code is active as well. For the pre-sale carnival rides, it's $30 for 10 rides. The sale will end on Friday, July 10th before the festival starts. So we encourage everybody to get their pre-sale tickets because you'll get more bang for your buck with that. We're pre-purchasing your carnival tickets. And then on the 30th of this month, you'll see these two mailers will be going out to all the Hueneme residents and their utility bills. One will be promoting our police explorers and joining our program, and the other one will be the information for the festival and the link to the carnival rides. This will also be a mock-up of our posters that will be going up throughout the city and the community, and our banners that will be going up with the help of Public Works on Ventura Road and CI in Victoria. And then this will be the other sponsor poster that will be going up in our local businesses and throughout the city. And our gold sponsors this year, Skunk Masters and Viper Security, Port of Hueneme, Darvik Productions, and Wellness will be our gold sponsors. Silver sponsors will be E-Rentals, Kona Big Wave, and then our bronze sponsors, the Port Hueneme POA, renewed by Anderson, Loras College, Farm Fresh to You, Ventura County Coast, Liberty Military Housing, Vallarta Supermarket, and Carnitas El Brother. Any questions?
I have a question about the contest. So I noticed a lot of entries. Is that more than what you're used to getting?
So we actually have a little less than last year. One of the things we realized was we got a letter from I think it was from Ocean View School District. So they actually had 190 posters that were turned in, but she wrote a letter saying only 30 students turned in their waivers or entry forms, so she withheld the posters. So we're going to evaluate what we're going to do next year, because it would have been like almost double the amount of the posters than what we had. And then we reached out to all the major school districts. Michelle from finance got a hold of the Wainimi School District, the Oxnard School District, and the schools in El Rio, and they disseminated it out from the district. We got some feedback. Some teachers said their students kind of refused to do it. Some of them did, or they didn't participate. So we actually had a larger reach that we did this year for the posters, but we did get a little bit less that got turned in.
Can I ask just one question? So talking about the art again, do the students know what the result could be if their poster was the best? Like, do they have, are they shown pictures of the last winners?
So when we give the notification, we have a separate, besides the waiver form, we have a separate form outlining the prizes that they go win and the details and the event. So they're given all the information. It just, I think some people just didn't, the parents didn't want to turn them in, so then the teachers would held the artwork because they didn't have the waivers for them.
Okay, great, thank you. Did you have something there?
Yeah, a couple of questions.
Yes.
I wanted to know if you have updated your website, if that's the location we can go to or refer people to get
Yes, the
information
website.
on parking and how to get to the entrance and all the logistics.
Correct,
for
yes, the website is
festival.
open, is updated.
It's been
Yes.
updated. And did you use a committee this year in your planning, like we done in previous years?
Yes, we had our committee, yes.
And who are those committee members?
So the committee members, we had Jose from the community development, Michelle from finance, then myself and my brother from the police department, and then Veronica from the community center.
Okay, well, tell them thank you very much for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lopez and then Gama.
So I can see that you brought forward some lessons learned from last year, where you stated that you were going to move the vendors to an earlier start. Was there anything else that we learned from last year?
That was really the only main thing that we got from the feedback from the residents, was like, just people waiting for the to get the food. Other than that, we didn't receive any like major complaints besides traffic, just people trying to park or having to walk a distance. But it's something we can't control given that it is a festival. So we did have the like I said, we had the shuttle from as far as from the port all the way right up to the entrance of the festival. Whereas in years past, you still had a distance to walk in. The drop off is in front of the festival.
So I know that seating is kind of limited, and some of the events brought out huge crowds. Thought process like bringing like a foldable chair,
As far as into the
bringing it in with you, like carry that, you know.
Oh, you mean like a lawn chair? So we actually did not refuse lawn chairs last year, so we did allow patrons to come in with their lawn chairs, since we do have the grassy knoll more accessible. So we, the direction that we had given the security was that they had it, we let them come in with it because people did set up their chairs on the grassy knoll last year.
Okay.
So we're not prohibiting those.
And then I didn't hear post Beach Fest that there was no noise complaints, correct?
Not that I recall.
Not last year. I think the year prior we got one, but not last year we received.
Correct, yeah. And then the press was more of those, we had the car show 2 years ago, was a
Yeah.
noise complaint on that one.
And then the mailer, I like that. You should be using that more, but
Yeah.
that was just more of a comment. Thanks.
And then as far as getting out, as far as advertising, just so you guys know, we will be running our media ads through 95.9 and the Mambo Show starting 2 weeks prior to the event, as well as on Radio Lasa. It'll be coming out as well. And then we also will be boosting our posts through the Wainimi Beach Festival Instagram account and the Explore Instagram account, where we can get a bigger reach actually by boosting the posts to the different regions in the area.
Thank you.
There's one other minor change that impacts the council, and I think we gave you guys a heads up, but we were going to adjust the timing of the council presentation and the hero presentation, also to just try to have that at a time a little later when there's more of an audience than there had been last year. So that was the other small change
Correct.
we talked about.
Are you going to do a I don't even know what it's called, but you take all this artwork and put it on a banner and then put it on the entrance. You can do that again?
Yes, we're going to do that again. We actually digitized everything already, so we're going to be getting the banners made just like last year to post on the entrance of the festival.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do, and I'm kind of sad about all the artwork that didn't make it, so.
Correct.
I don't know, maybe we could try and get them.
Are there? Go right ahead.
Just kind of back to your committee, what roles do the Explorers actually have in the planning and organizing of these events? Since now that, you know, they are the lead benefactor of the proceeds, any proceeds that we incur, what's their involvement in the planning?
So the Explorers, because they are in school, so we don't have them here in the planning process during the day. That's why we have our city committee and and myself and my brother are the head advisors for the Explore program and part of the nonprofit. So we handle the bulk of the, I guess you could say more of the administrative logistics. Where the Explorers have a big hand is actually the day of deployment of the 2 days of the festival. They're the ones doing our traffic control. They're the ones setting up the items in the festival. They're doing that late night pickup of the trash or resetting everything, coming in the morning to set up even to the umbrellas, the table mats, getting that done, and then just being a presence in the festival, selling the water. Again, with the beer, because we do have the beer booth, it is for the Explorers, but we will be having the Explorers' parents and families who are over the 21 be the ones managing that, while the Explorers are handling everything else.
I was asking because I just think it's such a great opportunity for them to learn how to organize and plan for events. And so it sounds like they've got the logistics side of it, you know, setting up that day, but the planning side I thought would be a wonderful opportunity for them to learn how to put these events actually together.
Correct.
So I understand they're in school. Thank you.
Great. If nothing else, thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. See you guys there.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to our consent calendar. Before we get there, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments for the consent items?
No public comments for consent.
Okay, great. So the consent calendar will be approved in one motion unless a council member would like to pull an item. Any items wishing to be pulled?
I'd like to pull item 7.
Item 7,
3 and 5.
3, and 5. Okay, with that said, can I get a motion and a second for all other items? So that would
Move
be.
to approve
Okay, great.
remaining consent items.
Yeah, so that would be 1, 2, 4, 6.
Second.
Okay, great, thank you.
All in
All right,
favor?
Madam Clerk? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, let's take item number 3.
Okay, this is the continuation of the memorandum of understanding with Wainimi Elementary School. So I'm reading the report and it looks like it's cut in half, the funding $53,000 per side. If the district is capped at approximately half the cost, who covers the internal staff hours for managing the contract? The city may not, we may absorb some of that cost. So it talks about 4 hours of overtime. So I was kind of curious, have we breached that before?
Do you want to answer that? Commander Albertson's been working on with this program with school district for many years.
Yeah, so that was built in because when we first decided to get rid of the crossing guard program internally as a city, and we decided to enter into the MOU with the school district, it required a little more work on our part because all this process was brand new. We've been doing this so long now that really the staff report and reviewing the amendments in the contract is really the only amount of work I do on it at this point. Finance does some stuff, but it's not the amount of administrative work that it took when we first got it off the ground. And so all city management services, the contractor, they handle everything now, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to answer and say Commander Albertson and Ashley in our finance department make it look really easy, so I don't think it's too much effort, but I was hoping that that's how they felt about it too. So
I guess if it was a competing contract, then it would probably go into negotiations, and this could probably.
that would take more time.
That would take more time. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, one last question on here for the city attorney. Knowing that the cross guards, it's like listed as top 5 dangerous jobs in the world. we have a $6 million cap for our insurance. Is that viable for us? I mean, we well protected with that?
I really don't know our JPIA side of things, James, if you do. There's usually excess carriers and there's other different levels to that. So I would defer to them on what exact coverages we have. But 6 million wouldn't be, it would be high for an initial coverage with an umbrella after that, but or an excess.
And I'm going to see if our Deputy City Manager, Mr. Peretz, has additional information there. He's been working with CJPIA for many years, so he might have it or can get it. So.
Yeah, I'll just echo generally what the city attorney said. We do have a primary general liability policy as well as an excess general liability policy. I don't have the specific coverage amounts, but that's certainly something that we can get and provide to council in short order.
Those excess coverages usually are quite significantly higher in amounts, but it takes something to
Got it. All right, those are the only two questions I have. Thank you.
Can I follow up on that? But the CPJ, I always get it.
CJPIA.
Yes, they've reviewed this and they've given their opinion, if there was an opinion to be given, I'm sure.
I believe they've reviewed it over the years. I don't know that we had them review just the one-page amendment this year.
I will add this while he's coming up here, is that the proposed contract with the contractor supplying the services provides indemnification for the city. So
Right.
right off the bat, before even JPIA is involved, before any retention or anything kicks in from us, the contractor and their insurance is primary and comes in first.
Right, and that's where our 6 million would stack upon their mandatory coverage amounts.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Can I get a motion for item number 3?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Let's go to number 5, item number 5.
Item number 5 talks to the interim policy for processing residential projects under state housing laws. And my question is pretty simple. During the 2024 zoning revisions with state laws, what specific steps are being taken to ensure that it seems like we're going to fail this 3 years in a row? That the consensus, but it's not, there's no penalties, is that correct?
So we're working with them, so there's no penalties. I think if we planted our feet in the sand and said we weren't going to work with them, then there would be penalties, which typically are, I think the state has put out a list of cities who weren't working with them and who were going to get penalized, and I think their first thing is they're ineligible for any like state funding or grants or things like that. But we weren't on the list, and we'll knock on wood that we don't. But this item is actually sort of intended to keep us on the right path with the state. And in short, just anybody who maybe sort of missed that starting part, but we were notified by HCD a couple years back that upon their review of our code and housing rules, that they think that there's a few areas that we are stricter than they would want us to be. And so we have been working with them over the last couple years to try to sort of, here's a revised version, does this work? And then we actually have had several meetings and conference calls with HCD staff, like where we have their team on the phone and our team on the phone, or in person, or on the phone or via Zoom because they're in Sacramento. But we've had a lot of those meetings, and I think they're generally pretty happy that we've actually made good progress. I think there was a point a couple years back where they weren't so happy with us, but now they feel like we're making good progress. And so this is actually the result of when Tricia Meyer, our new community development director, came aboard. We reached out to HCD and kind of confirmed that we're still intending to work with them, and they asked us for basically a memo that says that we don't plan to challenge state housing rules, and we plan to comply with them. So that's what essentially this is. Okay. So I think they're seeing it as we're continuing to try to work with them, and we aren't just saying like we're not gonna change our rules to match your rules.
So in Table A, it lists all the properties, and one of them is called out by a parcel number, which is the 99-cent store lot, which we rezoned. last year.
Mhm.
Has there been any activity on that?
The 99-cent store lot, so. Well, yeah, there's been activity, but not this type of activity, and let me explain. So, 99-cent store went out, Dollar Tree went in, but where these would be applicable would be if they came in and they wanted to apply for a conversion to housing.
Low-income housing.
Then basically what we're saying here is that we would follow state law, which state law, we've talked about it a lot at council meetings, but state law is really at this point saying if somebody wants to put housing in, you have to let them put housing in, with very few restrictions. So if there was a developer who came in and said, I have a great idea and I want to develop that site into housing, as long as they follow the state law, they'd be able to. But we haven't had anybody come in with that. And when it opened up from a 99-cent store, Dollar Tree went in fairly quickly. And our most recent conversation was they seem to be happy there. So I don't think they're looking to redevelop that. But it's possible. And there's always, when we talk about the housing, there's always like the risk that if somebody does come in and this happens in some cities where somebody comes in and goes, I follow the state's rules, and so now you can't reject this project. So there is that possibility, but I always, I've said this to HCD that I don't know, I think our community does support affordable housing, and I don't think that it's necessary, like, we're not looking to not comply with those, we just haven't had developers come in trying to do that, so.
Yeah, that looked like the biggest acreage of lots
Yeah.
that we had, and that could meet the mixed zoning requirements.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, can we get a motion and a second for number 5?
Move to approve?
Second?
Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, now we'll go to item number 7.
Okay, so I asked to pull this item because the process is such that the nomination and appointment of the Annual Hero Award should go through council for discussion. And I think that was the process and the recommendation from the Citizens Advisory Commission. And prior to this meeting taking place, over the last couple of years, I have been meaning to communicate with the CAC regarding the review of the applications for the Hero Award. One of the issues I've identified and have observed in the meetings is that not each application gets full treatment. And this happened once a couple of years ago with a teacher who had received numerous nominations, but because the CAC didn't know who she was, it got set aside. And then this time, there was another applicant, I believe her name was Stephanie Kimberling, and I think she got dismissed because there was not enough information on her, or that nobody knew her. Nobody knew the applicant. And it concerns me that that is being used as a criteria for dismissing applicants, and it shouldn't be, just because the CAC doesn't know the person. I think that they really need to look at the merits of the applicant and take those into consideration. And I do understand that staff did try to reach out to Stephanie Kimberling and try to verify the information that was on the application. But I continue to see, like every year, we're nominating ourselves. We're nominating members of our CAC. We're nominating members of our council now. And it's just, this really should be for the community. And that's what I hope we can see more of in the future. And Charles, if you want to comment on the Kimberling applicant, I watched the meeting, but I missed that part when you guys reviewed it. So can you explain what happened with that particular application?
Sure, I think you summarized it fairly well. Staff, in its review process, did reach out to the individual that nominated Ms. Kimberling, tried to obtain additional information about her efforts and the positive benefits of her efforts, the location of her efforts, the who, what, where, so to speak. And unfortunately, the communication that staff had with the individual that nominated Ms. Kimberling did not reveal specific information that would help either staff or the CAC conduct a review of the nomination. So that one, not for lack of effort, but really there wasn't adequate information from the submission nor from the follow-up to provide an adequate assessment of the person's contributions to the community.
I think it was her mother who nominated her. She used to be a crossing guard here.
Yeah, even that wasn't clear. The individual did have the same last name, but when asked about the relationship, the response wasn't clear on that matter either.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anybody who knew her at Surfside 3 either, so I appreciate the effort. But I think in the future, I'd like to see the applicants, thoroughly given some time, and knowing that you went beyond your responsibility in trying to locate, the nominee and get more information. I appreciate that. So this brings us to the nomination recommended by the CAC, which is Stephen Gama for his work on the beach. And
That was not the recommendation. It was for the people.
I was
who go
going
out.
to get there.
Okay, but you said his name, and that's not
Well,
correct, so.
that's the nomination.
That was the nomination, yes.
That was the nomination
Yes,
form.
yes.
And so the recommendation was to recommend an organization in
Yes.
association with the beach cleanup.
Yes.
And I think the CAC went into detail about talking about which organization it should be, but being that REACH has supplied him with the buckets and some of the equipment, maybe that would be a good way to recognize their contribution along with the beach cleanup. Now, I certainly agree Gama merits, recognition in this for his time cleaning up the beach. 11 years is a lot, and it's quite admirable that he's out there every Saturday doing this. And I understand that that's the direction we're going to move in, and invite him to bring his organization in, but I just wanted to suggest that maybe REACH might be at least included in that recognition. And I don't know that you are going to be able to vote on this. Does Gama need to recuse
There's no
himself?
financial interest, so I can't think of any legal obstacle.
Because it is concerning, I think, a little bit that it is an election year. So
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to raise that, and so the timing is interesting, but nonetheless, I believe he totally merits it. I think I do support it. I just wanted to put those comments out there, so thank you.
Okay, let me just, for clarification, Deputy City Manager, can you just explain for us what was the decision from the CAC?
Sure. A brief summary, we received 3 applications this year. As mentioned, there was a nomination for Stephanie Kimberling. There was a nomination from the property manager of Many Mansions in Oxnard to recognize that organization and the good work they do. And there was a nomination to recognize Mr. Stephen Gama for his efforts related to the weekly beach cleanups. The CAC's discussion during their meeting did express some of the topics and discussions are what Mayor Pro Tem has mentioned. They did talk about whether or not sitting CAC members or sitting council members should be recognized. There was discussion and recognition that last year there was a nomination to specifically recognize the volunteers, including Mr. Gama and others that are involved with the cleanup effort. And ultimately, the action taken unanimously by the commission was to recommend that the 2026 Wainimi Hero Award recognize all the volunteers that participate in the weekly Wainimi Beach cleanups.
Great, thank you. Nadia?
Yeah, and I just want to say last year we recognized the volunteers with the Lions Club, of which Misty and I are a member. But REACH contributed minimal amount of support 10 years ago in providing like 10 blue buckets. Since that time, I've gotten, Amgen has donated, and $2,000, which we use to buy pickers. The Refill Shop in Ventura, which is an environmentally friendly organization, is delighted to provide us with the buckets. So, and then I fund the ergonomic handles, the stickers, and stuff like that. So, the real exciting thing about this is the amount of volunteers over the years, And if this were to pass, I would invite as many participants as I can, and everyone up here has participated. But most importantly is the youth involvement that we've had over the years. And it's really, it feels really good to see that many of these kids have gone on to do great things. They're in college, they're engineering students, and they come back to Hueneme as adults, and they come back and visit, and I really think that's what we're focusing on. And honestly, it's not about me, it's about the volunteers, our coastal environment, and getting involved. And for that, these youth have been highly involved, and the Optimist Club, the Seroptimist Club comes out, Martha's group comes out, the Police Explorers come out. So we have large groups. And so if this were to pass, my hope is to flood the stage with so many volunteers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do that.
No, I'm going to do that because
Maybe one from each organization.
what Mayor Pro Tem was talking about in our inspiration tonight is exactly what makes Hueneme Hueneme, is that people care about our city, our environment, our museums, our recreation department, our pickleball players, I mean, our veterans, and our city is really unique in that. So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm glad that we understand now that this is going to be going to the volunteers, and we will recognize them should this get approved at the Hueneme Beach Festival, because the recommendation didn't say that. But, you know, so it was not clear.
Yeah, the CAC kind of came up with that.
Yeah, I
in the
did.
meeting,
I
yeah.
watched the,
Okay.
I watched
Yeah.
the meeting, so I understood that.
Yeah, I guess
And I
the-
wanted us to have an opportunity to talk about it, because we should weigh in on this. It's important.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I'll say about this item, and thanks to Mayor Pro Tem for pulling it, was, so when I think of the Heroes Award, I think of someone doing something that is, I don't want to say extraordinary, but someone who has really done something for our city that, that to go unrecognized would be really a shame, right? So when I was reading through, I did read that the CAC, there was a statement in here that said that if the beach cleanup doesn't get it, then the second choice is this. Well, when I read the nominations, I didn't really find any information in the other two. So I just want us as a city and the CAC not to think that we have to pick someone if the information doesn't, you know, is not at the point that they should be a hero, right? And so that's why I would like to get, because one thing we don't want to do is diminish an award and just give it to someone because we can, and the title is Heroes Award. So I just want to make sure we think about that when we move forward.
One suggestion would be the recommendation can include, or the motion can include whether to approve the recognition, but also scheduling a council review of the criteria and direction to the CAC in the next couple months.
Sure.
Good. Okay, so unless anybody else has any comments already, ready to make a motion? Okay, so we'll go ahead and make the motion to accept the CAC's recommendation and the city manager's suggestion that we have an opportunity to review this policy and send some recommendations to the CAC.
Great.
Is that all right?
Second.
Great. Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. We're now going to move to item number 8. That is our public hearing, levy and collections of the annual assessments for assessment districts number 87-1, assessment district number 91-1, and district 95-3, and agreement with the Ventura County Auditor Controller for billing of direct assessments. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of publication as required by law and a complete file of reports and exhibits?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Great. With that, staff, please present the report.
Thank you. Yeah, and we started the assessment process last week, so we talked more in depth about it, but I will hand it over to our Public Works Director, Fred Camarillo, to give us a little bit more background on this next step.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, members of the audience. As our city manager stated at our last council meeting, you adopted the resolutions that started these proceedings and preliminarily accepted the engineer's reports, which detail what the 3 separate funds will provide as far as services. We have the lighting district, which essentially is those funds are used to pay for the street lighting bill. The parkway and medians, which can be used for any work done within our parkways or medians. A few years ago, as you may remember, we entered into a contract with a landscaping company, and so they've been doing contract work on that, and we've been using the fund for that to help pay for those services. And then we also have the drainage assessment district, which covers the Bubbling Springs corridor, but only the channel itself. And as you know, we've been in a multi-year project clearing the reeds out from the channel, and we will continue to do that. One of the things that we're looking, as I mentioned at the last meeting, was we are going to be seeing about getting a permit that we can obtain to do less manual labor tasks and be able to control through spraying. But that's something that is ongoing and will be coming back at some point once we get more details on what that is going to take in order to get the permit established. Tonight is adopting resolutions that will go ahead and say that you want to enact the intent or the ordering of the levy. So essentially, we'll report that, all the information to the auditor, and they will assess the properties on their tax bills. And the ordering of the levy also formally accepts the engineer's report, separately, the 3 reports, authorizes the city manager to enter into that agreement with the county to put that on the assessor roll. It also directs the city clerk to have all the documents filed with the county, and then it closes the process. And so all that has to be done and turned in before July 7th. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Are there any questions? We'll only take questions at this time.
So knowing that we're still assessing our lighting based on, with SCE, so we're gonna conduct this levy based on just what the data that we do have, right?
Correct.
So we won't see the true lighting costs until next year, which is 90% LED lights across our streets. We don't know if that's made an impact or not.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we are going to be submitting a full audit report from SCE, which will give us details on what levels, their tiered level they're charging us at. If there's anything that needs to be corrected, that will get that started to get the correct tiered pricing on what we have. And it will also enable us to look at a variety of other things where there could be options to change what we currently have. We don't know what we're being, if we have the correct tier for what our lighting currently has, because there's been some things that have been changed over the years, and we're not sure that the tiered rate that they have applied to those is accurate.
Okay, that's all I have.
Did you have anything? Anyone? Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll now open the public hearing for public comments. The time is 7:36. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, great. Public comment period has concluded. I'll now close the public hearing. The time is 7:36. So we have before us the recommendation to adopt 3 resolutions of the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme, California, one for each of the following districts: Lighting Maintenance Assessment District 87-1, Parkway and Medium Assessment District 91-1, and the Port Hueneme Drainage Maintenance Assessment District 95-3, ordering the levy and collection of assessments for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027, pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with the Ventura County Auditor Controller for the billing of direct assessment. May I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve?
Second.
Great.
Comment.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I probably should have asked a question, but so my understanding is that this was a mandate of some sort in 1991, or I just heard 1976. And could you tell us the benefit to the public for having to go through these assessments every year?
Yeah, so and Fred can jump in whenever you'd like, but essentially cities had the option of creating an assessment district to therefore then charge for those specific services. For the idea being the people who are in those districts get the benefit of those services, so they contribute into it. And so I think ours were in 1987, 1991, and 1995. We created these districts whereby the people in them pay, and one of the districts covers your lighting costs. The other one covers maintenance costs and things, the maintenance-related items.
So in a planned development like Surfside Village, there's street lights, and this is how we pay for those? Or is that
I'm not sure if it's Surfside Village specifically. I'm not sure if Fred knows.
Yeah,
that.
there are some that are city-owned. So we have 91, I believe, city-owned lights. And
91?
Yes.
Okay.
The rest are all owned by SCE. And so anything that's owned by SCE also, they also perform maintenance on those if something happens to them. With the city-owned ones, they will perform the electrical services for it, but it's a city-owned, then we would get a charge for that. So and the city manager is correct in how he explained that. So to your question, how does it benefit? An example, a couple things. One, for the Parkway and Median and the street lighting, everybody gets assessed those because the parkways and medians and the street lights run throughout the city, the entire city. So everybody gets that. The drainage, on the other hand, is separate because that is for the Bubbling Springs corridor. So only those properties that their runoff, so essentially between J and Ventura Road from Bryce Canyon down would get assessed because their street flow runs to that corridor. So there's less units assessed in the drainage because anything on the north end of town does not get benefit of draining to that channel.
And then I imagine that the county has their own assessment district for their
Yes,
flood
they
control?
have some different things like for vector control and the west drain that runs down the middle of Channel Islands Boulevard. So they have other assessments that get divvied out as well to people because it is something that serves the general public.
Yeah, if I could add one thing, just kind of more general budget related is, so these are also just a good example though of when you see that our assessment districts were created in 1987, 1991, and 1995, and then try to think of any business today that would still be charging the price it charged in 1987 and how they would do that. And one is either they'd change the price, right, like every store does, or they cut the service, you know? And so, so these are actually like really good examples. Like the lighting district in particular is just, that is a straight check to Southern California Edison. And over the years, their rates have increased. As everybody knows, everybody pays those. So now the money that was approved to be collected for Edison isn't enough to pay Edison, right? So then that leads to our general fund subsidizing those costs, or us having to meet with Edison to figure out how to reduce those costs, or what a lot of cities are doing now, because a lot of cities were in this boat, but then they now are creating overlay districts, which now basically add on the inflation on top of the underlying district. And so those are all these are good examples for just sort of the general budget picture of, any business that's trying to charge the rate that it charged in 1987 probably isn't in business anymore. And so it's just one of those things you have to adjust and figure out.
So I think you just reminded me that of our 91 lighting units, I think we went to LED lighting a couple years ago.
Yes.
In an effort to reduce the costs associated with that.
Yeah.
How's that
and I think
working out?
That's one of those ones I would say, give credit to the staff here and the work that they've done, where they have been able to keep these costs sort of within, the realm by constantly working on trying to improve those things. But at some point, you just have to figure out how to adjust. So we're probably getting to that point. Like I said, a lot of cities are doing the overlay districts now because costs are increasing. So.
Great. Anything else? Questions, comments? If not, Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Gama?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Perez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez?
Yes.
And Mayor McQueen-Lejeune?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're standing for that. Great, we'll move on to number 9. This is another public hearing. And adoption of 2025 Urban Water Management Plan resolution. Madam Clerk, do you have proof of publication as required by law and a complete file of reports and exhibits?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Staff, please present the report.
Yeah, and I'll just note quickly, I know the PHWA members already heard these presentations, so you guys are lucky in getting to hear it again. But items 9 and 10 are connected, and so we'll have one presentation with our team that is for both of those items. So it'll be a little different than what we normally do, but each of the items, by law, because of the process, we have to bring them as 2 separate public hearings. So with that, I'll introduce Fred Camarillo, our Public Works Director, to introduce our team on items 9 and 10.
Yes, good evening again. As our city manager noted, there are 2 separate items that need to be approved tonight. Both fall within the Urban Water Management Plan, which you're going to hear about, and then the Water Shortage Contingency Plan is a section within the Urban Water Management Plan. And I will turn it over to our consulting engineer who put these together, Mr. Jake Comer from Weston Associates.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good to be back up here again. So the Urban Water Management Plan, as we call it, the UMP for short, is a planning tool for water agencies. It's required by state law, and it's a good source of information, especially in terms of updates with general plans and other planning documents. So it's per the Urban Water Management Planning Act, with the most significant update back in 2009, and several in 2020 as well. Those required are those with 3,000 customers or 3,000 acre-feet of water or more, and they're due every 5 years. The last one back in the 2020 UMP was due July 1st, 2021, and this 2025 UMP will be due by July 1st, 2026. And some updates to the water code, although none specifically to UMPs in particular. There's a lot of indirect ones in regards to water usage, and so there's a list of those, and we've included more updates and information in the report itself. A little breakdown of the UMP. There's 9 sections. with intro through service area, water source supplies, water use. As mentioned, the water shortage contingency plan is basically section 8, and it is, as mentioned, it's a standalone document that they'll adopt separately. And the main reason being is because it'll be enacted separately. So during times of drought, when either the state requires a level 2, or sorry, any sort of shortage, levels 1 through 6, the city will have to enact their water shortage contingency plan in accordance with that. So for example, back in 2021, it was a level 2 action announced across the state. So the city had to enact their stage 2 from their water shortage contingency plan. But also, secondly, the city can enact it on their own if there's any local supply issues, if maybe a pipeline breaks, or if there's leakage, or just severe drought issues regionally, you can enact it on your own as well. And some highlights. So we cover the city service area, with a population of about 21,400 people. With no major planned developments, we see experience a steady growth, minimal over the next 25 years, reaching about 24,600 by 2050. And we have images of the water service area, which we're all familiar with. We have a few other various different maps and figures we put throughout. And some more highlights. Obviously, the water is obtained from the Port Hueneme Water Agency. And the water from there consists of the 2 imported sources, from one of which pulls from the Oxnard Basin, and the other which is from the Bay Delta and the Colorado River. And again, we go much further detail about these sources. We follow it basically from where the water gets to the city, all the way up to its original source. And then vice versa, we go from the usage all the way down to each user, and we break it down. So you get a full following where the water is coming and going. And we even include water losses into our analysis as well. When we came out here for the kickoff, we were able to visit the Brackish Water Reclamation Demonstration Facility. And so we got to take some photos. We included that in there, so we have some up-to-date photos to help make the report more robust and not just checking off all the boxes with the state. Some more highlights. So about 5,900 meter connections in 2025, with imported water supply reaching about 1,700 acre feet. We show the supply capacities, which again, that's the imported water from going to the water agency. And we basically took about 53% of that being the city's minimum available supply. And that procedure was based off of the 2020 cycle, and it seemed to work out well. So we carried that over, and it shows basically that reduced capacity. And for our analysis, we want to show the minimum available supply so that when we project forward, we're able to look at a more constrained analysis. Not just giving what is fully available, but minimum available shows more tighter situations. And as well, I think we go into it, maybe a little bit later, but we'll get into basically in the analysis, we don't just look at normal years, we also look at single dry years and multiple dry years. Multiple dry years being a 5-year consecutive drought period, being the most stringent. So there's increased demands with that. So we apply that with the minimum available supply projected to really see, all right, let's test the system, see how it works out. So that analysis is fully covered in section 7. It has all the most analysis, all the charts and tables throughout there. Going into recycled water, this is section 4. There's no wastewater collection system, and there's no recycled water. Although the city's customers for potable water use, they send their wastewater to the city of Oxnard, and they benefit from the indirect potable reuse of recycled water from the advanced water purification facility by injecting it in the ground and then eventually pulling that same water up that gets imported to the city. It kind of helps to maintain that sustainable amount of groundwater. And there's also groundwater recharge through injection wells adjacent to the advanced water purification facility. So more highlights, like I mentioned, we include water loss in the demands, which was about 1,700. Taking that into consideration, taking into consideration the current population, we see about 71 gallons per capita, which does meet the 2020 per capita target of 109 GPCD. So that was set back in 2020, actually prior to 2020, so I think that was that's per the 2009 law, the SBX 77 I mentioned, and that doesn't change. And part of the water code, they want to just keep seeing how these agencies meet these targets. So well under that, about almost 40 GPCD less, which is a really good result. So we projected, again, demands going to 2050, and we included some passive savings due to better efficient facilities, more stringent water conservation measurements from the state, as well as just the city at large. And we have shown about 1,800 acre feet of projected demand by 2050. And now we'll jump into the water shortage contingency plan. Again, it's Section 8, and it covers the different 6 levels of the response actions or shortage levels. So as I mentioned, when the state previously enacted Stage 2, they determined that there was about a 20% reduction in the total average supply across the state. So by enacting Stage 2, the goal was to implement the shortage response actions that align with that to reduce water usage by 20% to bring us back into to balance there. So we show the description of those mandatory compliance, with Stage 1 being voluntary and basically permanent, always in place, the rest of them being mandatory. And their actions get more and more involved as the levels increase. Oh wait, sorry, go ahead.
Is there dates associated with those level of reduction?
Like how much time till one, like if you go to like
Right.
5? No, and I know, yeah, it's interesting because the only example we have, because these contingency plans, before 2020, it was kind of a free-for-all where everyone had their own. But in 2020, the state said, hey, you guys need to show basically like a crosswalk to these 6 here. And so since then, we've only had the one example where Stage 2. So I realized it was not the best example because then after Stage 2 was gone, it wasn't like it went to Stage 1, it just kind of went away. So I haven't seen, a Stage 3 enacted and then it gone down. But I believe that would be the case. In time frame, that's a good question. We wouldn't be able to have that. We do have with the response actions percentages allocated with those. So basically, if these actions are performed, and we don't exactly specify, I guess, how long, but until, I believe they'll just be enacted till the reduction, but they show percentages for each of those with that, but yeah.
So I recall that we stopped watering the mediums, and is there a percentage of reduction? Is there a metric that we as a city could be informed of? Because the downside is we no longer have vegetation on the Ventura Road in the medium and on the outside. So the question then is like, well, how much savings did we get by doing that?
Right, and I know, well, for this though, the response actions would be to reduce irrigation on lawns. So if you've already done something in place, I guess that would fall under Stage 1 as a permanent action. Off the top of my head, I couldn't give you a percentage. I'd have to look at the area and compare it to the full area that's being irrigated, right? But yeah,
so this turnkey turf thing, which we're going through right now.
Right.
And you just look out front. We terminated a lot of people ask us, and sometimes we don't have the right answer.
Yes.
But my answer has always been the state's mandating us to save water, and this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, and that's where it's somewhat different than response actions, being that the turf, the non-functional turf mandate, right, which we do include right up on that as well too, and that's in the early introduction section, but that's something that is somewhat separate because that's, I guess, permanently in place and that's ongoing, whereas these are in basically emergency situations enacting these. So I know phasing out turf isn't a good emergency action because by the time you get done, hopefully it's gone. I mean, if it's the emergency's still around, you have bigger issues. But most of these look at more immediate effects to reduce use and increase supply. So although there are reductions, yeah, they kind of stack on each other, I guess, if that makes sense.
Madam Mayor, can we finish the presentation before we ask questions?
No problem. Yeah, it's good to cover it. And you've heard it before as well, so I think that's probably why. So moving on again, we throw some visit the facilities, we include some photos and write-ups, and this is another example of a potential emergency situation. Say there's an issue at the plant where the water is received, there's actions to remedy usage and supply elsewhere. Yeah, but we're all tonight anyway. But in terms of the conclusions, so we saw water supply capacities, which are solely imported water, are sufficient to meet demands. Although near the time of 2050, under drought conditions, there is less supply carryover or remaining. Although demands are met, it does get a little bit tighter and tighter. So we do recommend possibly revisiting the city-owned wells. I know they've been inactive due to seawater intrusion, but possibly looking into ways to remedy that, to access that, especially during times of emergencies and whatnot, to be able to pull water from there. Otherwise, referring to the contingency plan during those sudden shortages or disasters that may occur. And next steps, as mentioned, there's the 2 separate resolutions for each of these. And then within 30 days, our staff, along with city staff, will submit the adopted to DWR, provide the CD copies to state and library and the county, and then work with the city staff to make this available on the website. And now I can open up to questions.
Any questions?
How many city wells do we have, and how many are infected by saltwater intrusion?
I think there's 4 off the top of my head, if I can remember, but basically the aquifer we're standing on is basically like infected, for lack of a better word. So those are all within that area. I know the city, and they maintain them, so they are functioning, but they're just not being used because of the amount it would take to treat that. But yeah.
So is there a possibility that in the future that the saltwater could be pushed back naturally?
So naturally is not likely, especially just way trends are going and sea levels rising, water's kind of coming more inland, right? But like the advanced water purification facility that takes recycled water, a lot of that, when it's dumped back in the ground, artificially pushes it back. So there are ways of doing that, like artificially. And I know that's done across the state. A lot of agencies throughout are dealing with this issue. And so using that artificial pumping of water to push it back does help. So that's something I guess the city could look into, but yeah.
All right. So from 2021 to 2026, there was unaccounted and metered distribution water loss. Looking at the report, what was the major contributor to those water losses? Do you know offhand?
Offhand, no, only because we basically pulled from the validated water loss audits, right? Those are done annually. There's a certified validator that does that, and there's a whole analysis that goes through it. We basically just pulled the end result, which determined the amount from there. Off the top of my head, I know we do somewhat of analysis further into that, but we don't really break down like what the audit shows. And sometimes they don't always necessarily show it because some of them are just standard to the state. Usually, I know in the audits itself, they take into account real loss, which is like main breaks, right, like leakage. But also there's apparent losses where meters are maybe not reading correctly. Maybe you're actually underproducing or overproducing, right? So I know from my experience, one of the things I would recommend, and this is probably a city's case, not fully knowing without like having in front of me, but from most audits that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of these, is there's not usually meter testing done. And they're usually, so basically they're not flow testing or calibrated. And that's like the big thing to verify how much water is coming in. And that way you can, because sometimes it's not actual like water that you're losing, it's just the reporting numbers are kind of off. So getting those numbers down is the best thing to recommend. On top of that, then you can do leak detection programs where you have like acoustics that find these leaks quicker and whatnot, and then obviously reducing those leaks and whatnot. So,
Okay, I guess this is for Fred. Specifically on facilities using potable water for non-functional turf. I know we're pretty aggressive on converting all our sites. How many more are left?
We have several. We are have available to us a map that the state actually provided, a high-level overview of everything, and they've actually determined, based off of what they see as what are non-functional areas. So we're going to be going more into that. We can separate it out into layers and then get into even smaller, like section by section of areas that we're going to do, but we haven't gotten that map completely.
Because it does talk to before January 1st, 2027. Did I read that right?
For
the mandate to get convert all these sites?
That's what the mandate is. The reality is it's not going to be possible to do all that, but we are working at getting there, and part of that is also showing that you've not completely ignored it, but you're working towards it.
Okay, got it. So this applies to local businesses as well that have landscaping in the front, or?
It's based more for the residential program and like city-owned properties. So like anywhere where we have, a good example is out in front of our public works yard. We have a strip that's out there we know that is a non-functional area. So those types of areas will be areas that we know eventually we're gonna have to get to and convert those.
So one is that the one we approved last meeting with the Longshoreman building. They have a lot of non-functional, or they have a lot of nice turf, not turf, but landscaping that were native, low water. So
correct.
That met that requirement.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, that's all I got.
And one other thing I know you asked the question about metering, like out here.
The water loss, yeah.
We're gonna be comparing, but we need to go through the summer so we can see, because we know that's our high water usage when we had all the grass out here. So we'll be taking all of the meter readings and looking, and then at the end of the summer, we'll be able to compare and truly start telling how much water we saved just with this project. And we'll do similar things to other areas at the park. All that's gonna be converted, so we'll be able to take those readings as well and compare them to what typically ran through those meters and doesn't anymore once we get all the drip irrigation installed and all that. So we'll be able to come back at some point and tell you, this is how much this project saved, this is how much this project saved, and continue to do things like that.
I do get a lot of questions about some of the landscaping that we did in our parks and in the front, and I'm not a plant expert, but is there a way that we could probably list those plants on our website so that they can see what we use, and they could probably model?
Yes, absolutely.
They all need help. Like they're just asking a lot of questions.
Yeah. No, we can put a list together. I mean, we have the original plans and layouts of those, so we can just easily pull those off and create a link on our website to the plants that have been used by us for our projects.
Awesome. Thank you.
So in front of Public Works, when the non-productive landscape area,
non-functional turf.
Non-functional turf. I don't even know if it's turf. I think it's ivy. But what does that mean? You're going to just let it turn to dirt, or does it mean you're going to widen the sidewalk, or?
No, I mean, we'd have options. I mean, if we wanted to, that could be something that we also did to widen our sidewalk, which would help meet ADA requirements, which we also have to do as well. So,
right.
Or turn it into a low water usage planted area. I mean, converting the sidewalks obviously would be a much more expensive endeavor, but it's possible. I mean, well, we have decisions that we'll need to make on what makes sense. I mean, we have competing interests.
Right, and I've been watching this very closely, and I see all the irrigation lines being laid across this big dirt area that used to have turf. And I noticed that wherever there's a plant, there's a couple little holes in this pipe, and there's multiple levels of pipe. And so, are we certain that that's going to result in saving water?
It's intended to, and that's why I said we'll be able to actually tell by pulling meter readings from the past to
Right.
meter readings that will be current and actual,
Right.
and compare them.
And going back to, are the meters going to be calibrated and flow tested before?
They do get calibrated, and we're also looking, one of the things that we went through in the budget is we're gonna be looking at doing a whole citywide upgrade to our, all of our meters. So it'll be the advanced metering technology. So that will also help in the long run, because those things are now capable of sending alerts when you can set the parameters to be alerted. So the business owner, the resident, the city staff will have access to those things, and it will alert when you set what the threshold is, and then an alert will be sent, and then it can be followed up on much quicker.
Great, thank you for your questions. I'm now going to open the public hearing for public comments. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments? It's 8:08.
No public comments.
Great, I'm going to conclude the public hearing timeframe, and now we are going to take the recommendation, which is to adopt the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan Resolution for management of the city's water resources. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion?
Are we also adopting the water shortage contingency plan along with?
For the
this?
next
They have
one?
to be done
Or is it gotta be a separate?
Yeah.
separately, because we
Okay.
have to
Next.
open and close the public hearing. Yeah.
If no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Yes.
Mayor McQueen Lejeune.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to public hearing item number 10, and the hearing and adoption of the 2025 water shortage contingency plan resolution. And so back over to, Madam Clerk, do you have proof of record?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you. Over to staff.
Fred, do you have anything?
Nothing additional to add.
Okay, I was gonna say, there should be no questions. Okay, but I do have to open, if there's no questions, have to open the public hearing for public comment. It's 8:10. Madam Clerk, are there any comments?
No comments.
Okay, we're gonna conclude public comments at 8:10. So we have before us the recommendation to adopt the attached 2025 water shortage contingency plan resolution for management of the city water resources. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a comment, or I'll have a discussion. So
No, that's, go ahead. Yeah.
knowing that I did take a tour with Dennis, and I got to see in real time what the water pressures, water usage was going in real time, seeing it on a big screen. They identified actually a leak in naval-based Ventura County, because they know what the pressures are, they know what the usage is, and this thing was just dumping like a faucet. They had a broken water main, and then so he called naval-based Ventura County. He says, "Hey, you guys need to look at your water. You guys have a massive leak going on," and 15 minutes later, yeah, they did have a leak. So there are a lot of tools that we have. But with the water meter, new water meters, that should be a very helpful to us.
Yes.
So that was it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? If not, Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Perez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Yes.
And Mayor McQueen Lejeune.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Will these
Great.
new meters be able to help you tell when my daughter's spending an hour in the shower?
And on a serious note, like my HOA, we seem to have leaky sprinklers all the time. Like it is frustrating when you see sprinklers.
Okay. Let's move to item number 11. Mr. Camarillo, thank you so much for your report, and thank you for the presentation. Number 11 is a discussion of proposed short-term rental regulations and direction regarding the revised ordinance. Staff, city manager, is that over to you?
Yes, thank you. We'll have a brief presentation. Just go over from a high level. You may recall that we had discussed we've discussed the short-term rental compliance program several times over the last since about October of 2024. It's back on tonight for some direction, and so just some background was that in October of 2024, the city began receiving short-term rental complaints from community members. A couple months following that time, council directed staff to explore short-term rental regulatory options. From February through June, staff held community surveys in a public forum here at council chambers to get community input. This is one of those topics where there may be 1,000 different opinions on what exactly should be in the rules, but most people generally agree on 99% of it. And so we held the community surveys and public forums to try to really iron out what those consensus items were. And so then we returned to council in August of 2025 with all the feedback from the surveys and the forum. Council received the feedback and ended up directing staff to draft an ordinance with what we called reasonable good neighbor standards and density restrictions. And then that ordinance came back to council in November of 2025. We held a public hearing to review the draft ordinance, and council directed staff to remove the separation requirements. If you recall, we had included requirements that units had to be 200 feet away from other units, other short-term rental units. So we had, I think, feedback from owners at that time who said that they had concerns that would limit, even if there was only a couple of them, it could limit if there's two next to each other. So that council directed staff to remove that requirement. And then the other requirement that was highly focused on was the owner posting notice requirement. And so several owners attended that meeting and raised concerns about posting their personal information. So council asked staff to kind of look at what some other cities had done, some other agencies had done, and return with alternatives to that posting requirement. So we'll go over really briefly what was in the draft ordinance, and then we'll get back to the alternate posting options on the next slide. But just as a reminder of what was in the ordinance at that time when it was presented, it was essentially a program that would require annual permits and business license from STR operators. It established occupancy, parking, and quiet hour standards, with those being the main three areas we heard concerns and complaints about, being the number of occupants, the parking impacts, and the quiet hour rules. So it included those standards. It required a nuisance response plan and a local contact, meaning the owner the owner could hire a property manager or something to be local and respond to complaints about the units. It established enforcement and permit revocation procedures, and then it also required TOT hotel tax compliance as part of that as well. And then it established a citywide 10% permit cap. You may recall we talked a lot about that because part of our challenge here in Hueneme is that any area that is in the coastal zone, we have a limit that typically the Coastal Commission has to review and approve the ordinance, and they have not historically approved any that are more strict than about a 10% permit cap. There's been a couple of exceptions to that where cities created whole different processes, but just as a general rule, that 10% rule seems to be what they typically approve. And so, so that was what was in the ordinance. As I mentioned a moment ago, the council directed staff to come back and remove the separation requirements and give alternate posting options. So the separation requirements, we will remove those, and then the alternate posting options, we've identified 3 pretty simple posting options. And again, all of these, we looked at other cities, and these are all processes used, but there's also, a dozen other ideas that are used too, but these seemed like 3 reasonable ones that were workable and that addressed some of the concerns raised at the prior meeting. So option A would be continue to require an exterior posting, but simplify the information on the posting that would be displayed. And so instead of having all their identifying information, it could just be a notice that gives the permit number and the 24-hour contact phone number. So that essentially all that a neighbor would need to know is if they hear a noise, they hear a party, they can go, I think that's a short-term rental. If they look, they see that it's a short-term rental with the permit number, and they get a phone number that they can call and complain to. So that's a simpler process. Option B that we provided is we talked about this too, and I think at the time, I think some of the owners had said that they had preferred this option at that time. But the no posting, no exterior signage, but what's called the neighbor notification requirement. And essentially what this would be requiring the owners each year as part of their permit process to mail notice or provide notice to the neighboring housing within 200 feet that they are a short-term rental and provide that person their information directly. So there's nothing that gets posted, so the general public doesn't know, but the neighbors within a certain radius would know. And so, and then the notice should have the information, including a nuisance response plan and the 24-hour contact for if there are any issues. And then option C, which is one that we saw pop up more recently, I think it's a newer idea, is simply having a placard with a QR code that doesn't have any other information, but a neighbor would be able to go up and do the QR code that would take them to a link that would give the information. So those are 3 potential posting and notification options. And so based on the last review from council, where most of the ordinance, there wasn't really a dispute, it was removing the separation requirement and then basically coming back to council with 3 options for the notification. This item could be as simple as council choosing one of these, and then we would build that into the ordinance and return to council. Because it's an ordinance, it has to be a public hearing. We'd have to give public notice. So we could return probably, I would estimate that legally we have to provide a certain amount of time, but that's probably 6 weeks that we could return to council with that item. Or if more significant changes are desired and we want to go back through the whole ordinance, then that would be a longer process. But we wanted to sort of end on this slide with the note that it could be as simple as just choosing one of these and building that into the ordinance. So with that, we are here to answer questions and take direction from the council. So that's all I have.
Great. We'll start with Councilmember Lopez. You have any questions?
Sure. So looking at this section 5671D, states that operating STR without a permit is a misdemeanor offense. And I kind of just want our residents to hear this, because I kind of briefly talked to Paul, the attorney. Can you talk to this? Walk us through what we can legally do if someone's operating without a permit.
So generally, violations of the municipal code are misdemeanors by default. So there's nothing really unusual there. The question is more about the enforcement practices. In most cities, and from what I've seen, and it's true of Port Hueneme as well, enforcement is done administratively first and criminally in unique circumstances or repeat offenders or things like that. Since I've been here, I haven't been sent on a single criminal case, so it doesn't appear to be a major source of enforcement. But it is a tool, and it is very common. practice to make violations a misdemeanor. What I would suspect to see in any kind of ordinance for STR enforcement is primarily an administrative citation type program first, and that's because the state allows for significantly higher fines for STR violations than they do for other types of code enforcement and nuisance violations. And that's just to offset the cost of doing business nature of, oh, okay, I'll pay the $100 ticket if I'm going to bring in $5,000 this weekend kind of mentality. So I would assume, but I don't want to step on James's toes on how it's enforced, but that's commonly how that's done.
So, City Manager, are we going to initially contract this to go and search Wainimi to find all our STRs?
So it's a complicated answer. We currently contract with HDL, who are sort of the sales and hotel tax experts across the state, if not the country. I don't know a city in Southern California that doesn't contract with HDL because they're so sort of omnipresent in all cities. So we contract with them. They actually have access to identify short-term rentals, and we have had some conversations with them, and they have identified some units. We also, there are state laws and bills and things like that pending that are supposedly going to require Airbnb, and I think Airbnb and VRBO, to notify cities. But the breaking news on those is that those organizations are lobbying heavily to try to kill those things, and they've killed them a couple of times in the past. We would intend, we would intend to use HDL, continue to use HDL, but like we said before, with part of this is we don't have more resources to put towards this. We have one code enforcement person currently at the city handling all code matters, and this is not going to generate any revenue. This is not something we're doing for revenue purposes. It's purely for the benefit of the community. And so we wouldn't have additional resources, so we want to make sure that we can do it efficiently. So we'd be using our HDL current resource. We'd be using our code compliance. If people start calling us and saying that they know that their neighbor's doing a short-term rental and they have proof of that, then that's something we could do. Or if they call us and say, my neighbor has a short-term rental and they've posted it and they aren't following any of the rules, then that's something we can follow up on. So we'd do both of those. And then in a perfect world, what we're hoping, we've kind of been hoping it for a while, is that Airbnb and VRBO end up being required by our state officials, if they stick to it, to actually just notify us automatically when anybody uses their platform, which would really be that'd be the best case, but they're lobbying heavily against that. So
Got it. That's all. That's the only questions I had.
Great, thank you. Do you have any questions? Go ahead.
So it looks to me that the beach area is going to be the main draw for short-term rentals. And to me, this is a revenue opportunity, even though it's not a big, you're shaking your head. Come on, don't shake your head.
If you're looking at it as a revenue opportunity, you will be disappointed.
Okay, so then I guess that answers my question. My question is,
It was.
so the tour, was it TOT? Okay, that's the hotel tax, right? Yep. So that's all we're going to generate from this. Is there any way, we heard somebody, like say if you have a 4-bedroom Ocean View Surfside 4 short-term rental, I imagine you could get $3,000. I hear some of these prices $3,000 a week, from outside. And so we can't alter, like say if there's somebody getting $3,000 a week, we can't say, okay, well should be, let's just say $500. No, you can't do that.
Nope.
Without going through the Prop 218 per tax process.
So you'd still have to set
a
it
new
for,
tax.
you'd have to set that for everyone. And so you would have to set that for all the hotels and everything like that too. So it's one tax rate. It's whatever the hotel tax is set at, which Port Hueneme, again, has one of the lowest tax rates, so 10%. is
Yeah.
what we've set it at.
So just to finish this out, I am disappointed because I know it takes a lot of resources to maintain our beach and other things in our parks. And of course, we do need revenue. So, but
Yeah, I guess just to be fair, the one way, it's kind of funny, right? It's a catch-22. The one way that this would actually generate revenue is if everybody started doing it, which is not what we actually want, right? And we
Right.
want that balance.
Right.
And the rules are intended to keep the balance.
But if-
But typically, I think right now we are aware of about 12 that actually have rented, that actually rent. And my guess, this is off the top of my head, but my guess is it's probably, maybe it generates maybe $5,000.
So my
a year or
overly
something like that.
optimistic view that there's going to be 220 short-term rentals, basically a hotel, motel, not the Holiday Inn in Hueneme, no, that's not going to happen.
So they can operate now, right? And we don't have 220. So now we're putting more regulations into place. So I don't anticipate there be more after that. Maybe potentially we find out about some more, but I think we've done that a little bit over the last 6 months, but it's not a huge number. So I don't anticipate it's going to be that it'll be anything significantly different from what we're already seeing. It's just that the ones that we see now will have to follow the rules.
And this question came up in regards to one of the public comments we received. I believe I recall that if an HOA was formed before 1976, then they could ban short-term rentals. Is that correct?
Yeah, the idea is that they existed before the Coastal Commission, so
Right.
they had authority over it, and
Right.
everybody who existed after the Coastal Commission now has authority over.
Right, and I think we determined there was one HOA in the city of Port Hueneme, that Surfside. That's not 4. I think it's.
Thought it was 2, but I always get it mixed up if it's 2 or 4 or.
Which is
3.
it? Surfside 3.
Yeah, it's one of the surf sites. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Do you have any questions? No, we'll take questions. Okay, great. So do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Yes. First is Patricia Le Pen.
Okay, let me see if I can do this right now. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and City Manager Vega. I'm here today as a member of Hueneme Wave. We're a newly formed organization that is working together to preserve what's wonderful about Port Hueneme and work to enhance the parts of Port Hueneme that need a little lift. I'm speaking today in support of the draft ordinance on short-term rentals. Our group met and we spent a fair amount of time looking at the proposed ordinance. And even with the change of not posting the sign or posting the phone number, we spent a lot of time looking at what other cities are doing. And a lot of cities already have a way that you can go in and put in an address and it'll tell you if that is a licensed entity. And then if it's not, you can just click a button and report it. So we think there's a lot of technology that'll make that much better. It also broke my heart that this isn't going to be a revenue-creating ordinance. And so I looked at Ventura, Newport Beach, Santa Monica, and Huntington Beach, and I noticed that there was a trend in what they were doing, that they require that the permit number and the tax number are in all advertising, and that includes the VRBO and Airbnb. But then I stumbled across, in October of 2025, SB 346 was passed by the legislature. And if we put in our ordinance that we require facilitators, they're calling Airbnb and VRBO facilitators, if we require them to tell us that we can request from them on a monthly basis everybody that is on their platform. And then you could just go in and see who's being rented, and so you would be able to more easily get to the revenue. But it's required that it be in our ordinance, that we require the facilitators to give us that information. Also, all of those cities have a very big fine, and it's Ventura, it's $1,500 for first offense. In Santa Monica, it's $1,000 a day. Newport Beach, the first time is a warning with 48 hours to comply. After that, it's $1,000 a day. And anybody that opposes to a big fine for not adhering doesn't plan on following the regulations. So thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Berberick.
A little bit of an addendum. I'm also Surfside 3, which, by the way, you know, we don't have to obey that. We don't have that problem of the short-term rentals. What we have is a problem of people doing it anyway and tracking that down. But that's a process. We'll take care of that. Formal approach here. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Manager Vega, and fellow residents of Port Hueneme. I'm Pat Berberick. I'm a long-term resident of Surfside 3 and a member of the steering committee. And here's, as Paige has already said, we want to preserve the residential nature of our community, and we want to enhance the areas that need attention. But there is one issue that we want to bring up here, a little bit of an addendum to what she was saying. The City of Oxnard ordinance prohibits short-term legal entities that are not a natural person. And this has been approved by the Coastal Commission, that no permit will be issued to corporations, no permit will be issued to a property owned by 6 or more owners unless each owner shares a common ancestor. This ensures that the owners remain invested in caring for their property and not just trying to drive as much profit as possible to passive investors. So we are requesting that this clause be added to the Port Hueneme ordinance. If other cities around us ban corporations and we don't, they're going to come after us. And so then you end up with a corporation owning a whole bunch of condos and just renting them out short-term, and then it becomes kind of a dystopian world in my view, because suddenly you're losing neighbors now, you know. So anyway, so representatives of our little group, Hueneme Wave, will be sending you, each of you, documentation of the Oxnard ordinance as it applies to this, and we appreciate your attention to this matter. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Paul Quigley.
Hello, Paul Quigley, Port Hueneme homeowner, organizer for strfreedom.org. Thanks once again for having me. I appreciated the City Council's accommodation on making changes to the original proposal for the short-term rental ordinance, in particular the elimination of the separation requirement, which, when you think about it, is onerous at the very least. Exterior signage, I know, is under consideration. The main concern with external signage is that it presents a security risk to the operators. They can be easily targeted by criminals. The recommended approach would be option B, which would be the notification of the neighbors, which provides for a much more secure mechanism to ensure that everybody around knows that a particular operation is a particular house is being operated as a short-term rental. Another onerous requirement, which I saw still in there, talks about parking and use of garages being made available. And I'm not sure what the city's trying to achieve by mandating garages being available to guests. I think it's onerous, it's overreach. So I would request that the garage requirement be eliminated. The other thing that I think is very important, and the city has really, I think, dropped the ball on data-driven approaches, and take the opportunity to come up with the metrics to provide the data, right, to monitor the effectiveness of the ordinance. And I think this should be included in the ordinance itself, that the ordinance is going to be reviewed on an annual basis for effectiveness, right? Is the ordinance achieving its intended goals, right? Is the city realizing an increase in complaints or a decrease, right? So let's have the processes and the mechanisms in place to gather the data. I mean, you have a city analyst, put the analyst to get to work to put some numbers together and provide more transparency. The city has a transparency problem here, I'm sorry, particularly with these complaint rates. I think by having metrics, by having data-driven, and by having transparent reporting, you're going to take a very emotional issue and provide some sanity to it. What I'm seeing is just a lot. What I'm seeing is just a lot of rumor and innuendo, and it's an approach that's
Thank you.
that's misguided.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Thank you.
The other thing to think about is the benefits.
Okay, thank you, sir.
These short-term rentals produce significant amounts of tax
Sir,
revenue.
your time is up. Your time is up. Can you turn the mic
I've
off?
contributed over 3,000.
Sir, we appreciate your public comment, but your time is up. Thank you. Let's see, any other public comments?
No other public comments.
Okay, so we have before us a recommendation to discuss and propose short-time rental, term rental regulatory framework with particular focus on posting and notification requirements, and provide direction to staff regarding any desired revisions to be incorporated into the revised short-term rental ordinance for future consideration. May I have a motion and a second? Remember, this is just to say that we want to move forward with the discussion.
Don't we want to make recommendations to?
Yeah, I don't know that we need a motion at this time. We you can have open discussion, and if there's a consensus that you want to make a motion to support and direct staff to pursue, then that would be appropriate.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
So can looking at the first thing that we need to have consensus on right now is the potential posting notifications.
Yep.
Initially, I did like modified option A, but I actually I actually do like B. I think B meets for the most people's requirement. And I did go through 5 STR of other cities. It's a mixed bag it's this. So we're not far off, like we're really close. We just have to have consensus on what we want to do. I'm gonna lobby for option B.
Yeah, I like option B. The only concern that I have is that we're leaving it up to the homeowner to actually do this. And so what if they don't do it then?
Well, it should be part of the permitting process.
Well, I understand. So should permitting, period, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only concern I have with this. I absolutely can be persuaded. I do hear the comment about one, safety. The other thought that I had is if anything is selected that causes the neighbor to have to go to a home that's already experiencing a nuisance, that could actually be unsafe, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and so think about it, she probably had, this person probably has the postcard on the refrigerator, doesn't need to go engage the house. They have the data, and they can make the phone call.
Yeah, I support option B, and I hope that the recipient of these notifications is better organized than I am with my mail, because at the point in time when it's an emergency, oh, dang it, where did I put that thing? And if there is a true emergency, just like you said, I don't think we want people engaging in what could be an unsafe situation. One of the things I'll agree with our last speaker is and maybe we should have a discussion what is our mission as a city with STRs? What is our goal? Clearly, it's not going to be revenue generation, but what is our goal?
Public safety.
Public safety. Okay, then in all our considerations of our ordinance, we should, draft it towards public safety. However, I have a different view on making it a target. I think thieves are looking for high value items. So I think thieves would, I think kind of takes, to me, and they're looking for high value items, jewelry, cash. I don't know. I like the requirement of mailing. I really don't like having a placard on the window, not because someone's going to break into the place when it's empty, but because they might break into the place when there's tourists who may have high value items with them. So, it goes both ways. But yeah, so I'm a little unclear what is our mission? What is our mission as a city? And maybe someone could help me understand that with STR.
Yes, so I do like B as well, but let's be real and honest. How many of us throw away all of our junk mail, anything that looks like a postcard? I keep none of it. So what's the likelihood that many people in the community have the card that has the information for this STR? So what happens if nobody keeps the card? So who's going to have the information, and how are you going to know who's going to have the information? I think although it's a good option, it's not fail-proof. Having someone put a little sticker with a phone number only and their permit number, no other details about who they are, where they are, just a way to contact that's easily found. It doesn't have to be on the window. It could be in some other area, maybe around the mailbox, if we're talking about safety issues and not wanting to approach the residents. But I don't know, I throw away all the cards that come in. I never keep any of it.
So, City Manager, I read something in the report that spoke about the possibility of having, not this in the actual, having the city possibly having a link on the website. Did I? Okay.
So that's something we could do a few ways, but I think we had specifically talked about it with option C, where essentially that would be a code that would take you to a link that then had information. But we have talked about internally the idea that there may be a way we can figure out one way or another to still, if we did the neighbor notification requirement, maybe we still have a way to sort of anonymously post at least the contact information on the website or something. And then it's at least if you remember okay, my neighbor has one and I think they were number 10. I've lost the card, but now you can go on the website and try to get their contact information.
That's tricky as well, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking about people like Councilmember Gomez talking about, anybody could go to a website and put in an address and find out information.
Yeah.
But what about my neighbors operating an STR and they're not legal? I mean, but that's something that we should be interested in, right?
Well, that's just a code compliance complaint then, if that's
no,
the
but
case.
it could be much more in the event of a crazy situation, right? Because okay, you're going to call the police.
Yeah, in the event of an emergency, you're going to call the police. Still, nothing on this will change that, but this is just anything short of that shouldn't involve calling the police, right?
So
Hold on just one second. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, B is fine, I'm fine with B, but it seems to me that most HOAs have a property manager who should also have these numbers handy. We have a 24-hour property management number that we can call. So if you don't have that number, which you should, when you get the card, you should probably log it into your phone, not rely on a postcard or something, because, yeah, I would probably lose it somewhere in my home as well. But I think that the requirement should be that the property manager and maybe the HOA president be responsible also for having this information. So that's more, it's in more than one place.
Where there is an HOA, and it's
Where
not-
there is, yeah, and there's mostly HOAs throughout the city, so. And the other recommendation I was going to suggest is that we take a look at Oxnard's ordinance as suggested, and incorporate the sections that the Wainimi Wave Group had recommended.
For the corporations?
Yeah, I think that's what
Yeah,
you're
with the-
saying,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no corporations.
You have anything?
I think I agree with that too, because, you know, if you look at,
Hold on just a second. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it for now, thanks.
Okay.
but if you look at like Surfside 2, which is probably, 35 units, you know, that's a ripe venue for a corporation to come in and make an offer that everybody can't refuse, you know?
Could I just make a point of order? This has been happening for several meetings now. It's just, can you wait to be called on by the mayor before we
Just
speak?
called on me.
Even though we're still we're trying to have a discussion, sometimes it's difficult because you want to jump in, but if you could
Yeah.
wait, that would be good.
Should I wait? Okay, I'm done.
Okay, okay. So I had written this down, that, because we've been kicking this around about 18 months, and we get bogged down. The meats and potatoes of this is really good, and what we should have is a trigger point, mandatory 1-year review, so that we can get our lessons learned, what worked, what didn't work, what can we amend, and continue improving this document. You know, we're trying to get it so perfect that we can't make consensus, and we keep kicking the can down the road. So I think what we need to nail down, come up with the posting, give council direction so that we can get this going, and have that 1 year from now to talk to say, hey, let's. Is there anything that we need to fix on this? Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Can I ask a Paige, what did Oxnard's ordinance call out in terms of notification requirements? Do you know which option they were?
I actually have it open in front of me
Oh,
right
okay,
now, because
great.
I was, when you mentioned the other thing on that, so I was curious what they did. I haven't gotten to that section yet, but if you
Okay.
continue, I'll have it for you in a
Okay,
moment.
thank you.
So, city manager, what specifically would you like from us tonight? So do you want to kind of go over topics and let us say yes or no, we want it in, or how do you want to do that?
I think it's as simple, so we have the underlying ordinance. This was the question that the council wanted to revisit and choose an option. So I think it's choosing an option here. And then the one thing that was mentioned that it's funny, last time around, we had said, when we brought the ordinance back, we said that when we'd come back at a later time to talk about the potential fines for violating some of the requirements. But now that we are taking another stab at drafting the ordinance, and I hear sort of a consensus, and I think it's true, is that our current code that just has bare minimum fines isn't going to work, so we should include some recommendations for looking at some of the neighboring cities and having similar fines for violations of those good neighbor standards. So I think if we get direction on which option, and then to proceed with the, to also include the specific penalties for violations, then we'd be able to bring that back. If it's that simple, we could probably bring that back within 3 or 4 meetings.
Yeah, but I think the language too is for non-corporations, shouldn't be permitted.
That could be a choice for council. The challenge, or, you know, the reason why staff doesn't have a recommendation on that is it goes back to what's the purpose that we're trying to accomplish. And what we heard when we had all those meetings with the public was basically, you know, from the members of the public, it was, my concern is that the person next to me will run one and not be good neighbors. So we wrote an ordinance that makes sure that whoever it is that owns it, if they're going to be expected to make sure that they're following these good neighbor rules. So for us, like, that hasn't been an issue brought up previously, but it's a council choice, so.
Yeah, just to speak to that, I mean, they also want to be able to contact a person if there is an issue with the Airbnb. They want to be able to pick up the phone and contact that owner and not get a corporate recording.
But either way, even the owners are probably just going to have a property manager. So either way, you're contacting a property manager, so.
Anything else? Anything that anyone?
So I can follow up on that if you want. With respect to the noticing and posting requirements, Oxnard has an inside the house posting requirement that includes all of that information, 24-hour contact, all of that inside the house, but not an exterior posting requirement. It's part of their permit fee, but it's the planning division that sends out the public notice to all neighbors, in this case within 300 feet of the property, of the pending application. So it's similar to your option B there. The notification's done by the city, though. I'm not finding anything with respect to this corporate prohibition. There is a rule about if you're the owner of a vacation rental property, you can't be the owner of another vacation in the city, which maybe the intent would be to cut down on the corporate ownership, people buying up investment properties for the purpose of STRs. So that might be where that's coming from. But that's the reason I went there in the first place, because I was a little concerned about prohibiting corporations who the Supreme Court feels are people. And there's a lot of, I didn't think that would pass muster just to say corporations can't own property and do this, but it looks like maybe the intent here is to prohibit multiple owners.
Yeah, I appreciate city attorney doing some quick legwork. Yeah, so I want fines, I think fines should be significant, because I think what we're trying to do is shape behavior. And again, like Councilmember Lopez says, you know, a year from now, we should revisit this, and we should see, okay, what are we doing? How are we doing? How you know, but if we have a permit holder in the city who isn't following our rules in regards to STRs, I think we should have a heavy fine, not $100 fine, but something that's significant, so that we get the behavior that we expect.
We looked up quickly a couple samples, and it looks like
The state caps it.
Yeah.
What were the numbers I gave you?
We saw one quickly where it's first violation 1,500, second violation 3,000, third violation 5,000.
And that's the cap pursuant to state law, which is only for STRs. It's unique to STRs.
And is that what's in our ordinance? I haven't.
No, and that's where I was
that.
saying,
Not at all.
The last time around, we had said we'd get to that in the future,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, I think
I don't know.
we all would agree, because essentially that, you know, you hope that no one violates it, but you don't want them to violate it very often, and we don't want to have.
That's just $100 fine. Whatever.
Yeah, and use more staff time that costs more than the violation is. So I think that approach makes sense for a lot of reasons, so we can build that into the ordinance with council's direction.
And I did find that corporation language finally.
Okay,
They
nice.
do have something which, again, concerns me, but I don't know. I'd have to look into this. They do have a prohibition on vacation rental permits issued to property owned by a corporation unless every shareholder or partner of the corporation is a natural person. So
your feeling is that
corporations that are made up of corporations
right, but your
be prohibited.
Your feeling is that that's maybe unconstitutional.
Well, I question it, but I think they're trying to get around it here by saying you can still be a corporation and do it as long as your corporation isn't wholly owned by another corporation.
So like a family.
Or a family.
Family
Family trusts are allowed.
Right.
Explicitly, that's not a corporation, but if you're an LLC, which would be a
Common.
full disclosure, I own an STR in Lake Havasu.
What?
So I'm quite familiar with STR laws.
It's a good place.
And I own that property in an LLC, but it's just me and my wife. We're the members. So that would be allowed under the Oxnard ordinance because the corporation is wholly owned by natural persons. But if it was a corporation that was owned by 3 other corporations where the shareholders, or subsidiary type things like that, that's what they're prohibiting. I don't know if that's lawful or not. I haven't done the research on that. It's novel. I haven't seen that particular restriction before, but I did locate it. They do have that.
REITs.
So I think we have consensus.
Yes. Does anyone else have anything else? So city manager, I think you all have what we've communicated out.
Yeah, and so we don't really need a motion because we are just going to return. We'll return with an ordinance. So we'll return with an ordinance with option B selected and the STR-specific penalties. And I think I heard the corporation language. So,
And then a 1-year review.
1-year review. My suggestion, because it has to go to Coastal Commission, which might take months.
A year.
So yeah, my suggestion would be maybe let's say we could probably word it something like 1 year after implementation. Yeah, and then that way we actually have a year of data and not 4 or 5 months.
So on that note, what's your estimation on getting it back from Coastal Commission?
Yeah, it's been tricky figuring that out because some things are quick and some aren't. I mean, I guess just a rough estimate is I would think it would be like 3 to 5 months.
It's not years.
Yeah, and what we'll do is if we end up hearing back from them that STRs for whatever reason take a lot longer than we expect, we'll let everybody know that.
Yeah. And I guess another thing we have to remember is while we're reading these other ordinances, a lot of those cities are not in coastal communities.
And some of the cities have different rules for within the coastal committee, coastal zone.
Coastal ones I know are much, much stricter than this, but they also have quite enhanced enforcement along with it. So their police and their code are actively involved with it. So that, we're talking about communities where $3,000 wouldn't even get you a day, let alone a week.
Okay, Mayor Pro
Yeah, I
Tem
had
has
just
something.
a couple comments regarding the mission of what that Councilman Gama raised a question on, and that, our mission, I think, with the STRs is, yes, public safety, but we also want to encourage good neighbors, but we want to encourage people to have a place where people can come here and vacation. And it could be light tourism, but it's, I think we want people to come and visit Hueneme, but we want them to be good neighbors. And I forgot the other thing I was going to say.
That sounds like a pretty good description.
So it's not, I just don't want it, leave it at public safety only.
Right.
That sounds too restrictive. We are the friendly city by the sea, or we try to be. So
I think city manager is writing this down, so I think he'll probably come up with something.
And the other thing I remember, I just want to thank Hueneme Wave groups for coming out and sitting through everything to make your public comment, and you, sir, in the back. Thank you for coming in and offering your comments. Much appreciated.
Hueneme Wave.
Okay, if there is nothing else regarding that topic, we'll move on to the city manager comments and reports.
Thank you. And we'll try to keep it brief, but we had a couple of things we wanted to highlight. We wanted to first thank everybody for coming out and celebrating the grand opening of the Miranda Park Playground. So we had an event out there on June 9th that was pretty well attended. I think, in fact, there were too many kids playing, and that was the obstacle to holding the ribbon cutting.
James couldn't get on the slide.
Yeah, no, not yet. So we want to thank everybody for coming out to that and celebrating with us. We also, this actually came up I think it was in the PHWA meeting, and I missed the opportunity to highlight it, but we mentioned the fact that all the cities and the county work together on a hazard mitigation plan, and this year is a big update year coming up. And so we, in partnership, all the cities in partnership with the county, wanted to get the word out that on Wednesday, June 17th, and they're trying to do it in a central location sort of for the whole county. So at Camarillo in the public library in the community room, the county will be holding the 2027 Hazard Mitigation Plan Public Workshop. And so our team is working with the county to update our Port Hueneme city plan, but these are actually public workshops to try to get input from everybody on potential hazards involved and needs from those hazards. So everybody's invited to that workshop on Wednesday at 6 p.m. And then I know it was our presentation, so it should not be a surprise at this point, but the Beach Festival, we technically don't have a council meeting before the Beach Festival, although I know we're talking about potentially having a special one for our labor negotiations if needed, but the Beach Festival returns on July 11th and 12th, so we invite everybody to come out to that on that event from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. this year. Free parking and free admission. And so our next council meeting, because of trying to sort of stagger our summer break so that we have a meeting every month in the summer, we have our next meeting about a month from now on July 20th. We actually do have a pretty full schedule already. Presentations from Food Share Ventura County, Park and Recreation Month proclamation, and then we have a public hearings. We're trying to stay more on top of the cannabis businesses and potential changes there. So we're bringing back 2 development agreements for review, working through issues with some of those businesses. So those are listed as public hearings. And then 3 business items currently scheduled. The audit report, we are we've asked our auditor to make sure we get our audit report in time to present it to council on July 20th. And we've been assured that that will happen. We're in that in-between year where we're converting to new auditors. But and then we've asked, Beacon has made a request for a budget adjustment, and so we asked them to come give an update and explain that request to the council for consideration. And then actually, you may have noticed the last item, we originally had it on the agenda for tonight, and it was the Community Benefit Fund item with the port. But we ended up agreeing, just all the people involved in the review process, making sure everybody sees it and is comfortable with it. We ended up agreeing to push that item to July 20th, so everybody has time. Everybody would have time to review that. So that will be bringing that back, which I know that's a hot topic, but the short version ahead of that meeting is that essentially it's the renegotiated amendment that would sort of streamline, with the intent of streamlining the Community Benefit Fund project process for both the city and the port. So that is currently scheduled for July 20th, assuming that everybody involved reviews and okays it by that date, which we are pretty confident about. So.
When you say everybody involved, you mean?
It's our staff and port staff.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're working through it. So right now that's the plan for July 20th. So pretty heavy agenda, and we will bring all these items when we convene again next month. So thank you.
Great, thank you, City Manager. We'll move to council member reports and comments. Councilmember Lopez.
Yes. Over the last 2 weeks, I did attend the Miranda Park Playground re-grand opening. That was a lot of fun. Mr. Softy and Bubbles are always fun. But the amount of kids, that was probably the best event that we had a good turnout on for the playground. So that was really, really good to see the residents really enjoying it. And then kids throwing rocks at each other was kind of funny too. Even though we had a meeting that was canceled for HHI, Hueneme Housing Inc. I did go back and I took my notes and I wanted to report out. So the board is updating internal controls by adopting an 11-point formal financial administrative policy to ensure accountability and strict credit card limits, fraud prevention. We are reviewing a upgrade to the elevator, ADA units, modifications. Remain the primary forthcoming capital goals that we have on tap. So we're setting the foundation for that nonprofit. So we're moving really at a fast pace, trying to get it right the first time. Also, I did talk to the Veterans Banner, the Veterans Ad Hoc Committee. Right now, we have tentatively scheduled to install the banners the week of the 22nd. That week, you'll start seeing banners flying around the city. It's an initial batch, and then there's still another 3 or 4 more banner applications that just came in that we're going to review. So we're going to get through those fast, try to get those on order for the for those applicants. And that's it. Thank you.
Great.
I have nothing to report back.
Great, thank you.
So I spend a lot of time in Miranda Park walking my dog, and what we saw on the grand opening is pretty much a daily occurrence there. And this council, city staff, over the last 7 years, we have revitalized our parks and recreation. We really have. And living as close as I do to Miranda Park and being to see the transformation, it's amazing. I like to count people in the morning 7:30 walk. There could be as many as 60, 70 pickleball players and some tennis players. Then when the afternoon comes around, there could be 40 or 50 pickleballers and 30 plus kids in the playground, kids playing basketball. Kids playing baseball, they're practicing baseball. So it's pretty amazing to have witnessed that transformation firsthand. And I'm really proud of this council and the city and staff and for all the great things that we've done there. Maybe down the road we could get a turnkey turf update presentation, and it's pretty, I see it moving along, but I don't know the scope of the project, how long it's going to be going on and so forth, so on, but it's definitely moving along. And looking forward to the beach festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Gama, for thanking staff for the Miranda Park grand opening and all the work done there. I want to ditto that. I was really appreciative of all the effort that went into make that a nice playground, and it was so much fun seeing all the kids playing there, and the grand opening was quite pleasurable. It was nice. It was very nice. I sit on a lot of legislative committees. I sit on a legislative committee for the League of California Cities, SCAG, and VCOG. And right now what I'm trying to do is put together a list of legislative pieces that I think the city might be interested in. I'm working on it. There's a lot, legislature's in session, so there's a lot going on, but there's some in there that I think the city we should be paying attention to. So I'll be sending those over to you, James, and should I send those to Brian as well? Is he our legislative person?
Yeah, so Brian and I work on the legislative platform. So anybody who sees any laws passed and has any either questions or just want to flag them for us, just send them to the two of us.
Yeah, yeah. There was one interesting one I saw today about them wanting to amend asking cities to amend their general plan to include childcare. I'm like, wow, that's really digging deep into the weeds. But yeah, luckily, the League of California Cities is opposing it. But I'll get that over to you as soon as I can. There was an email this morning about the feeding of the ducks at Bubbling Springs, and I responded to the individual and then talked to the Audubon Society, because I'm a member of the Audubon Society, and I just did some work with them last week, so I've got Kristen on my speed dial, and I reached out to her. She says she's going to get us some information on what the signs might cost. I talked to Reach. They said they would pay for them, but at this point, I kind of want to just, I don't know if we need an agenda item for it or to discuss it further, or if it's something that just can be handled administratively, because I know there's going to be other costs other than the materials itself.
Yeah, it just depends
There's
on.
other issues that we should be considering.
Depends on, what, what costs are covered and then potentially what costs aren't and all that. So, I know we're in the loop, so if, based on what we hear from those groups, we'll determine if it needs to come back to council or not.
Okay, okay, very good. And I will have a proclamation request under agenda requests, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. As I mentioned earlier in my inspiration, I did attend a Seroptimus event this weekend, and it was their installation of new officers. I participated in the Pride Proclamation and flag raising from at the county. Our supervisor, Vianney Lopez, led that. There was a great event. I ran into Councilmember Gama at the Ventura County Museum for the Parallel Histories Ventura County during the U.S. Revolution exhibits. They did have a great presentation, Chumash presentation. They brought over the Tamal. It was great seeing one, since we did put one on our library, in our library mural. So it was really nice getting a chance to see one. It's not completed yet, but it's almost completed. They're building it here in Ventura County. I did also attend the Ventura County Community Summit on Robotics Autonomous Systems at the port. That was really well attended. There was a group of students who are not from specific schools, like we have our Wainimi robotics team. They're actually made up of kids from multiple schools, and they are actually the autonomous robotics champions in the U.S. And they actually, they have their robots actually shoot balls into a specific basket area. And so all teams did the same things, and you could see them like you would see the robotics over at the port, kind of moving around, but they made more balls than any team by hundreds. And these were young kids building robots. So it was pretty amazing just to see them, and the fact that they were there. You got a chance to talk to them was great. And again, the ribbon cutting at Miranda Park was great. I mean, having too many kids there is a good problem to have. And so I think the parents were as not surprised, but you could tell they were having a great time as well. So it was good seeing that. And then I attended this weekend Oxnard's State of the City, presented by Mayor Louise MacArthur. So it was really good. It was really good. Yeah, I was surprised no council members were there. They talked about the Brown Act. I was like, okay, this is the State of the City. So anyway, but it was really good. And so other than that, just attending my meetings, and so everything is going well.
Mayor reminded me how wonderful that event was at the museum. And we learned some things. And one of the things we learned is that Tummel, when you look at, they wheeled it in, and it's 20 foot?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. And when you look at it, it looked like it's welded together, right? And it's like, is that how in the world do you weld wood together? But what it is, it's cured tar. And so the Chumash would collect tar from the beach, and they figured out a way to engineer it into a bonding that's truly amazing. So yeah, it was quite remarkable. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot.
So that's all I have. Is there any, oh, by the way, does anybody forget something? If not, we're going to adjourn tonight's meeting. Oh,
I guess we forgot the request for future agenda.
Oh,
items.
okay.
You know, no, this is okay. I think I got my answer from Georgiana on this proclamation, so I asked you a long time ago.
Okay.
I don't think I need to.
And so remember, we have a process for that, so you have to complete the form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, if nothing else, I'd like to remind everyone that the next council meeting is Monday, the first Monday in July, due to the summer, wait a minute, the first Monday in July? The 20th. Yeah, July. Yeah, on July 20th, due to the summer recess, and so our next meeting will be the 20th at 6:30. So the meeting is now adjourned, it's 9:16.